The Islamic conquest of Christian Iberia was swift, but the Islamization was very slow and complex. Though it gained momentum during 200 plus years of Cordoban Caliphate, but it never reached the threshold level to uproot the deep-rooted Christianity in Iberia, ultimately resulting in a multicultural, complicated society, mostly in southern parts, centered around Islam. However, within years of extension of Cordoban Caliphate, Islam started to feel the reverse pressure. In the initial Islamic onslaught, some Christian nobles of Visigoth Iberia squeezed in the difficult northernmost area of Asturias in the Cantabrian mountain of the peninsula. And around 720, in the catastrophe, a Visigoth noble Pelagius defeated the Arabs' pursuing army in the legendary Battle of Covadonga, which centuries later symbolized as the inception process of resistance, popularly known as Reconquista. And it is often epitomized with the deliverance of Iberian Peninsula from Muslims. But the beginning was far away from the end. Till 10th century, it was a bleak period for Christian kings in Iberia, in which they followed the simple survival rule, occasionally encashing small opportunities to expand towards Douro River Valley and southward in Galicia. However, in 830, with the sudden discovery of tomb of Apostle St. James the Great at Santiago, who said to have evangelized Hispania centuries before, the wheel started churning against Islam. Santiago not only developed and prospered as a great center of Christian pilgrimage across Roman Europe, enhancing trade and commercial activities and strengthening ties with papacy, bringing Latin influences, but with a conscious effort, the cult of St. James was also propelled to create an anti-Muhammad Christian pattern as Matamur, that is, Moors slayers. This was a source of strength for Iberian Christians during a difficult period. By the 11th century, the Christian Iberia connected itself more firmly to the mainland of Europe and papacy and produced the New Age kingdom Castile and Aragon, which played important roles in the latter Reconquista, completely overshadowing Leon and Navarre. In the inhospitable region of Peninsula, that is extreme north of Mondego River, Muslim presence, even after the conquest, was very few, and local Christian magnates were allowed by invaders to govern locally, subject to payment. However, Muslim dominance further dwindled after the Berbers' revolt in 741 against Arabs' domination and the devastating raids of Asturian King Alfonso I, capturing Galicia in 740 and Leon in 754, and creating a depopulated, dry buffer zone called Desert of Douro for making life difficult for any invading Muslim army. In this backdrop, in 868, County of Portucale was created between the Minho and Douro rivers region by Vimera Pérez, establishing the modern city of Guimera, which served as a semi-permeable frontier with the Islamic world. However, the series of Viking raids in the north plus the blazing trail of destruction of Almanzor, the dictator of Cordoban Caliphate, turned the tide against Christian for some time. In 1035, following the Iberian patrimonial principle, Sancho the Great, king of Pamplona, distributed his kingdoms among his sons. But Ferdinand I, who got County of Castile, emerged victorious among brothers and not only crowned himself as a king of Leon and Castile in 1039, but with Castilian arms backing, also started the Christian hegemony by lording over majority of Muslim Taifa of the fragmented Al-Andalus. The dissolution of the Cordoban Caliphate in 1032 in Taifa states opened a new era of opportunity in western region. Accordingly, Montemoro Velo in 1034, Sia and Lamingo in 1057 and Visu in 1058 were captured by local nobles. In 1064, Coimbra was captured by the royal army of Ferdinand I, shaping the future Portugal. But further progress was halted with his sudden death in 1065, which was ultimately improved after Alfonso VI came into the power. Like his father Ferdinand I, undoing his own work, distributed his dominance among his sons, Sancho II, Alfonso VI, and Garcia. But Sancho II protested and expelled his brothers, uniting Leon and Castile. But his triumph was brief as he was killed by an assassin employed by his sister Urraca, who was believed to be conspiring with Alfonso VI, who was in exile at Toledo Taifa. Alfonso VI quickly moved to take over kingship of Leon and Castile. The Castilian nobility led by Rodrigo Diaz, the future Cid, suspected his role in murder and asked him to absolve himself by swearing in the oath of expurgation. Further, the relationship with Cid was never cordial, who later on departed with the king to seek independent fortune in Zaragoza and Valencia as an indifferent vassals of Alfonso VI. El Bravo Alfonso VI had a long and greatest reign of 44 years, during which he was master of the entire Iberian Peninsula, including beleaguered Muslim taifas. But his regime had its own ups and downs and was full of controversies. Though well known across Pyrenees, he ignored Pope George VII for calls for prosecution of Iberian Reconquista with the support of European kings. However, maintaining relations with papacy, he supported in replacing the well-rooted Mozarbic Iberian liturgy, having Arabian influence, with Latin, facilitating integration of the Christian Iberia with the Europe. Alfonso VI had one of the greatest honor of fulfilling the reconquest of Toledo, the erstwhile seat of power of Visigoth. On the call of Al-Qadir, the troubled Muslim ruler who was under his protection and was facing local revolt supported by other taifas, captured Toledo on 6 May 1085. This was an event of great transcendence, fulfillment of long-cherished dreams of Christian kings of Leon. After the fall of Toledo, beleaguered Muslim taifas turned towards their Muslim brethren across the Gibraltar Strait. Yusuf ibn Tawsofin, then the emir of the new Almoravid sect of the veiled, fanatical Puritans of Morocco. Accordingly, Emir crossed the strait and in the Battle of Jalaka, that is the Battle of Sagrajas, on 23rd October 1086, routed the Christian force in a fierce fighting, inflicting a big blow to the power and fame of Alfonso VI, who spent the remainder of his life defending his realm from Almoravid. Fortunately for Christian, the Almoravid did not immediately pursue further and returned to Morocco due to more pressing requirements there. But in 1090, Yusuf finally returned to Spain, ousting the Taifa kings and grabbing the majority of Al-Andalus for himself, posing great pressures and threats to Christian. Somehow, with the help of the great medieval Spanish folktale hero Cid, the status quo was maintained. Alfonso VI had married 4 or 5 times but had no male heir. The last hope, his illegitimate son Sancho from a Muslim noble concubine from Seville, was killed fighting Almoravid, creating uncertainties and generating fissures which created Portugal. Count Henry of Burgundy, with an exalted lineage of French royal family, was one of the distinguished military commanders who, on the call of Pope, joined Alfonso VI's court to strengthen him against the threat of Almoravid, along with other nobles from Europe. In 1096, in an attempt to divide the increasing Burgundian court faction against himself, Alfonso VI, in a politically motivated action, married his illegitimate daughter Infanta Teresa to Count Henry, giving dowry the land of Portugal, carving out it from the land of Galicia, then under the governance of the husband of his elder daughter Urraca, that is Count Raymond of Burgundy, the cousin of Henry. The failure of Count Raymond in defending the western front from Almoravid was also one of the reasons behind it. Count Henry, a consummate opportunist, heavily relying on local resources and an effective relationship with Latin Christendom, followed the principle of confrontation and negotiation and was able to maximize personal advantage from rapidly changing circumstances in Leon and Castile court. And after the death of Alfonso VI, he carved out an independent land of Portugal. The half-sister Euroca and Teresa, the headstrong daughters of Alfonso VI and staunch opponents of each other, had almost the same royal ambitions, vigor, shrewdness and destiny, except the end. Both after the death of their husbands, acting as a regina, an agent of their sons, tried to follow the independent path of their personal glory, manipulating nobles and contemporary ecclesiastical politics and even confronting with their own son. But Alfonso Henrique, the young son of Teresa, fared better than his mother, and in the fight of survival with Leon and further in the struggle of power, he defeated his mother in the Battle of São Mamede on July 1128 near Guimaras, forcing her and more than her personal and political companion Fernando, a local noble, in exile, clearing the way for formation of independent Kingdom of Portugal.